And I gotta tell you, it was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
What's up, y'all? This is Pree's Perspective with me, Preeta. So, this week I decided to spice things up a little and go back to my Bollywood roots. So, I decided to watch Stree 2, which is the sequel to the 2018 movie Stree. Both the movies are directed by Amar Kaushik and produced by Maddox Films. It's a part of the horror comedy universe that the production house is working on. The film stars Rajkummar Rao, Shraddha Kapoor, Pankaj Tripathi, Apar Shakti Khurana, Abhishek Banerjee in the lead roles, and there are a few surprise cameos connected to the horror universe which they're building on. And I'm not gonna lie, I watched this film in a packed theater in New York. I could hear people laughing, cheering, hooting, getting scared. Typically how an Indian theater would react to such a film. And this kind of gave me some hope, not only for the film, but also for the fact that Bollywood is still there. It still has its magic of standing strong and giving us stories which literally are like, what did I just see? And it just gives me enough hope to safely say that Bollywood is back with a bang. So for those who don't know what happened in the 2018 film, I would highly recommend that you first watch that before you continue with this review, because this review will contain some spoilers from the 2018 movie which are somewhat connected to this film. So I would highly recommend you watch that, and not just for catching up with the franchise, but in terms of understanding how Bollywood treats the horror comedy genre, because honestly, Bollywood's relationship with horror comedies has somewhat been a hit and a miss lately, because either they are unable to balance out the horror with the gags, or they're just way too amateurish. Stree was one of those trailblazer films in Bollywood which kind of pushed those expectations we had from a horror comedy, and it set the standard so high that there has been rarely any Bollywood film which has been able to match up to its standards, barring some of its predecessors which kind of paved the way. Bhool Bhulaiya is one which I would also recommend you watch that too. But anyway, I digress. Let's get back to Stree. So the movie follows a few years after the incidents in the 2018 film, which involved a witch called Stree who would haunt the town of Chanderi and kidnap the men and bring them under her influence. This time, a few years later, we have a new villain called Sarkata, which means the headless monster, and the tables have turned this time. It's the women who are under attack by this monster and are getting under his clutches. And of course, what follows next is the team comes back together. They work out a plan to defeat the monster and our hero, who is played by Rajkummar Rao, called Vicky, and his love interest, a nameless witch who is played by Shraddha Kapoor. They gang up together, and presto, changio, you know what happens next. You're getting the sense, right? So, I guess I'm gonna start with what didn't work for the movie for me. There are some scenes which have been taken from other films which are connected to the horror comedy universe of Maddox. One of them is Bhedia, which is a film about a werewolf. Again, I would also recommend that you watch that film too, because all of these films are kind of sort of interconnected, especially from a character standpoint. And it was clearly seen that there have been some scenes which have been just blatantly taken from the original, from that movie, and spliced it into Stree 2 somehow. And the reason how I noticed this was that you could see that both the films have been shot in a different timeline, in different dates. So obviously the makeup will be different, the costumes will be different, the getup will be different. So that kind of was a big glaring difference for me, and that kind of disrupted the narrative a bit. Also, there are a lot of pop culture references in the movie, which are somewhat a hit and a miss. One of them is so cringy. It literally made me like squirm in my seat and feel sorry for the makers of that particular. I'm not gonna say which serial it is, but it is a pretty popular comedy, and it also has its own spin-off series of one of the characters. I'm gonna leave it till there. And the reference to that serial is just so like, oh, I can't. I'm cringing now even thinking about it. Also, I also have to comment on the VFX in some of the areas, but yet again, I'm gonna give this film somewhat of a leeway, because to be honest, India is still making a lot of strides in its VFX department. I mean, of course, we have companies like Red Chillies who have been the trailblazers in doing outstanding VFX. I know some of the films in India have partnered with DNEG, which I know is a really big VFX company in Hollywood. They are responsible for the VFX of films like the Mad Max saga, then even Dune, Top Gun Maverick. This film, I don't know whether it was because of the lack of budgeting or I don't know what happened. There were certain areas where you could notice that the VFX is a bit sloppy. So maybe if they could have just fine-tuned it a little, it could have been a much greater impact. Now let's come and one last thing about what didn't work for me. I felt like some of the songs when they were initially released, it was a bit of a hit and a miss. Like songs such as Tumhare The Tumhare Hain Tumhare Hi Rahenge Hum, then I think it was Khoobsurat and Aine. These songs still, like, they were really catchy, they connected to the film, and they kind of like they have been so melodiously composed by Sachin Jigar, who composed the music of the first film as well. But Aaj Ki there's another song called Aaj Ki Raat. When it first released, I'm not gonna lie, I did not like it as much as people were hyping it up so much. But when I saw it in the theater, I kind of got the hype and I kind of understood that why people are talking about this song so much. Now let's get to what worked for the movie. I was initially worried about how the story is gonna go, because the story of the first film, which was written by Rajan DK, who are outstanding directors in the Hindi film industry. Why am I saying Hindi? In the Indian film industry, they have also directed other films in other languages. They were the ones who wrote the original story of Stree, and they were the ones who built the world, built the kind of folklore around it. What happened was, by the time the second film was coming out, the production house and Rajan DK had a big fallout, because of which they had to sell the rights of their very own characters to Maddock. And well, that kind of made me a little worried that how the film is going to progress, how the story is going to go, if they're going to treat it right. But when I saw the film, I feel like they've given a whole lot of respect to its to its predecessor, because there are so many moments which are so heartfelt, and you feel like you have never left the world of Chanderi. It's still there, it's still as it is, and you still have like some of the local gags that work. There are a lot of homages to the first film itself, and it kind of makes you a little nostalgic about, and kind of like brings you up to speed a little of what exactly happened in the first film. And another thing I want to comment on is the performances. I mean, of course, Rajkummar Rao and Shraddha Kapoor, they are a power couple. They do most of the heavy lifting in this film, and they have done an outstanding job in not only balancing out the emotional stakes at hand, but also the horror side of the movie. When it comes to the build up to the climax and their entire like character arc comes to fruition, you root for these characters, you feel connected to these characters, you laugh with them, you cry with them, you holler and shout with them, you feel what they are feeling on screen. And I feel like that's a testament to what great performers they are. And I also have to give a shout out to Pankaj Tripathi as Rudra Bhaiya. Rudra Bhaiya pranam, like Shashtang Dandavatta pranam. If Rajkummar Rao and Shraddha Kapoor are the ones doing the heavy lifting, Pankaj Tripathi is the one holding the anchor. I mean, every time he was on screen, the entire theater was just laughing on their seats. They entered a laughter riot. And of course, you have the entire team as well. You've got Abhishek Banerjee, you've got Apar Shakti Khurrana. They also are the best buddies of the gang, and they also provide that ample amount of that balance which you need to kind of give you a moment to breathe, and then poof, next moment you're in a high stakes chase sequence and go and there are also a lot of cameos in the movie who do a phenomenal job in kind of carrying the story forward. I'm not going to spoil anything. I would highly recommend that you go watch this film in a theater and see for yourself who I might be talking about. I am going to rate 3 to 4 stars. Had it not been some of the pop culture references which were a bit too much, or even some some of the areas where the editing was a little sloppy, and fine-tuning some of the VFXs, I would have given this film a 5-star. Mind you, I mean, Stree 2 is one of these films which we Bollywood fans have been waiting for. It's like our Deadpool and Wolverine. We have been waiting and all these anticipation and everything build up, and then when we finally see it, it's so worth it. So yeah, that's what I felt after watching Stree 2. Go ahead, run, don't walk to the theater, just run to the theater and watch this film. Yeah, that's all I have for my review. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at MukherjeePreetha01 and follow me on Letterboxd at ThatFilmyChick for more such reviews. Also, this week reviews are going to be a little late because I've just moved to a new place, so sorry. Please don't be mad at me. This is Bree's Perspective signing off. Bye!